Stop getting beaten up by your bowl blank. Hi, I'm Kent and welcome to Turn a Wood Bowl. Today I'm going to help you stop getting beaten up by your bowl blanks. As you know, with this channel and with my website, I give away a ton of great information all about turning wood bowls. And I'm going to ask you for a favor in return, if you don't mind. If you're not already, do me a huge favor and click that subscribe button below this video. Click the subscribe button and click that bell. That way you're going to be notified when my next videos come out. I greatly appreciate that. Also, if you like this video, click that like button. And you could do that for any of my other videos that you like as well. Be sure to click the like button. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you guys doing that. All right, so let's dive into this. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to take a pretty typical side grain mounted bowl blank. So the grain in this blank is running across like you're seeing here. And this is pretty typical. We split a log in half and then we're going to be shaping this. So this will become the bottom of the bowl and this will become the top rim of the bowl. When we start this turning process, however, we're going to have a high spot here and then we're going to have voids as we're turning. So when we're taking this high spot down, what's going to happen is we're going to be cutting and then we're going to have air. And then we're going to cut, and then we're going to have air, and so on. So we're going to have what's called an interrupted cut. And until we're down to the shape of the bottom of the bowl, not until then will we have a full continuous cut, which will be just a regular bowl gouge cut. We're going to have an unbalanced, rough cut for quite a while until we have the bottom shape of that bowl. Now, this process can be very tricky, especially for people just starting out, but I've seen people that have turned for a long time have issues with this as well and get beaten up by their bowl gouge and the bowl blank. But we don't need that to happen. We just need to understand why we're getting beaten up. Now, one of the main reasons why you want to stop getting beaten up by your bowl gouge and by your bowl blank when you're roughing like this is, well, you don't want to wear yourself out. You're going to take in a lot of stress in your shoulders, in your arms, and you're going to put stress on your tools, on the tool rest, on the banjo. I've had people write to me, explain to me they've broken their banjo. Now, some of the cast steel or cast iron banjos have just cracked and broken when they're not properly used when roughing out bowl blanks. So stuff to think about is we don't really need to be wearing ourselves out while we're turning. We want to enjoy this whole process, enjoy the whole turning process. So we want to make smooth cuts and we don't want a lot of vibration and shaking going on with our body or our equipment. So we're going to prevent all of that and we're going to learn how to do this roughing cut really, really simple, and we're going to make it a much more enjoyable process, especially if you've had this issue with the getting beaten up by your bowl blanks. Okay, now when I say roughing out a bowl blank, you might be thinking, oh, I've got a roughing tool. I've got this roughing tool. I could use that to rough out my bowl blank. Well, you might have a roughing tool that can be used for that, but I'm guessing you probably don't. This is a spindle roughing gouge, and this is only to be used on spindle work or long grain pieces, never to be used on a side grain mounted bowl blank. People get themselves in a lot of trouble with this by using this on a bowl, and what happens is this is how you can tell if it's a spindle or if it's a bowl roughing gouge. The spindle roughing gouge tapers as it goes into the handle. That tapering is the weakness, and that's where you're going to have a bend or a break occur if you're using this with your bowl. So don't use a spindle roughing gouge when you're turning a bowl at any point. I've got a video all about dangerous tools you shouldn't use on your bowl. So check out this video. You're going to want to see that. I go into more detail so you understand exactly why this is an issue. But know that if you've got a tool that is tapering into the handle, that is a spindle roughing gouge and that should not be used on your bowl blank. Now, there are bowl roughing gouges, and you know a bowl roughing gouge because the width of the tool is exactly the same as it goes into the handle. So the handle is huge, it's big and beefy, and quite honestly, I don't have one, nor do I really want one. They're kind of expensive because they are so big and beefy, and they're kind of a unitasker. If you ever watched Alton Brown, you know what a unitasker is. Pretty much has one task and that's it. And I don't really need another tool. I don't need to spend money on another tool when I can use my trusty, heavy 5/8 inch bowl gouge. Now, I say 5/8 inch. Now, you guys across the pond and in other places of the world, some places measure this differently. We measure the outside diameter of the shaft of the tool is 5/8 of an inch. The flute on the inside is a 1/2 inch, okay? So when I say my 1/2 inch gouge, the outside of it's 1/2 inch and the inside's 3/8 of an inch. I know it's confusing, but there are other places that use the flute measurement as the measurement. So just know when I say 5/8 of an inch, that's referring to the outside diameter. So there's no reason to use a roughing gouge. You can use your bowl gouge and you'll do just fine with a bowl gouge. Okay, so once the bowl blank is mounted to the lathe and we're ready to start roughing the shape of the outside or the bottom of the bowl, it's very easy to think of the roughing process, especially if you have a background in spindle turning. It's really easy to think about presenting the tool straight in at a 90-degree angle and just using it to plow out material. Well, that can be done, but that is going to cause some violent action with the wood and with your tool, and it's going to put a lot of violent energy down into the tool rest and the banjo and the lathe, and it's not going to be a great experience. So no matter how we use the bowl gouge or where we're using the bowl gouge, in this case we're going to be using it to rough this bowl blank, we're going to be using the same techniques that we use if we're making a finish cut on the inside or outside of the bowl. We're going to be angling the bowl gouge to basically use it as a shaving mechanism. So we're going to be slicing off material instead of trying to plow it out. If you're new to using the bowl gouge, check out this video. I've got some great tips that you're going to want to know about how to use the bowl gouge initially and to get over some misconceptions you might have about the bowl gouge. Let's talk about why we get beaten up when we're rough turning a bowl blank like this. Now, this is a very typical situation. We're cutting away the high spots and we're working down the shape of the outside of the bowl, and all of a sudden we're getting a lot of thunking sounds. It's like thunk, 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 thunk. What is happening? Well, here's what happens, and it's really typical. Normally when we're cutting or we're turning, we want to make that cut go quicker, and we want to push, and we want to make the bowl gouge work better, or we think it's working better by pushing into the bowl blank. We can kind of get away with that when we have a continuous cut. But in this case, we do not have a continuous cut. Remember, we're cutting and then there's air and then we're cutting. So here's what's happening. When we apply forward pressure with the bowl gouge, whether intentionally or not, when we cut, after we're done cutting that high spot, the bowl gouge slides forward. And when it slides forward, now it's cutting deeper into the next pass. So now it has to make a much deeper, much more abrupt cut into the other side of the bowl blank. So you can see how this is going to overwhelm the bowl gouge and cause issues. And this is where that thunking sound comes from. And this is where you have all the trouble with the vibration. That vibration's got to go somewhere. So it goes up our arms, vibrates all of our bones, vibrates our shoulders, vibrates our spines. And if you do this long enough, you're going to have a lot of pain from doing this process. And I don't want you to have pain, because turning bowls is a lot of fun, so you should enjoy this. Not only is it uncomfortable, there's a lot of danger in doing this because of that violent impact of the material coming by that's much thicker or heavier than what the bowl gouge can cut. You have the potential to bend your tool, break the tool rest, or break the banjo or your lathe possibly. I've gotten emails from people that have done all kinds of things while roughing bowl blanks. I've had people that have broken multiple banjos. Now, so you have a cast iron banjo, think about that impact going through the tool rest into the banjo. It can crack that, and it will do that. So we don't want that to happen. Instead, we really want to make smooth slicing cuts. We don't want to make these abrupt, interrupted, violent impacts on those high spots. So let's talk about how we're going to do this properly. The first thing we want to do is we want to position the tool rest so that it's relatively close to our turning blank. Now, initially when we take down that high spot, we're going to need to move the tool rest pretty frequently because that high spot is just a small little area, and we're going to nibble that away, and then we're going to proceed down. So we're going to need to stop frequently and move the tool rest so we have good support from our tool rest. The next thing we want to do is we want to present the bowl gouge at an angle. We want to do a slicing angle, and we're not going to be trying to do that 90-degree plowing out, shoveling kind of approach as if we're digging dirt with this. Instead, we're going to be slicing material. Now, here is the kicker. This is where it's super important to pay attention. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a motion with our body by shifting our body weight. Oh, yeah, I got a video all about that. You're going to want to check that out. We're going to be shifting our body weight, and when we're doing that, we're not going to allow the tool to move anywhere except the path that we predetermine from, in this case, from right to left. We are not going to allow that bowl gouge to go forward into that airspace. We're just going to go from right to left, and we're going to make a nice slicing cut. That's all we're going to do. In order to ensure that this tool doesn't get beaten around by the bowl blank, because even though we're going to be slicing it, and we're going to do our best to maintain exactly where this tool is slicing and not moving forward, we still have that interruption where we have cutting, nothing, cutting, nothing. So there's still going to be a little bit of vibration that we're going to feel in that because it's going from impact from working and cutting to nothing and then back to that. So we're still going to have that, but it's not going to be nearly as violent as when we're pushing forward into the bowl blank itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to position ourselves. The best way to do this is to practice without doing the cut with the lathe off. Practice this sliding motion that you're going to present the tool on the tool rest from right to left, back and forth, as you're going to make it. And we're only going to slice away a small sliver at a time. Even though we're just roughing out the outside of this bowl blank and we don't really care about the finish at this point, we don't care if it's ripping out ingrain, we still don't want that because it's going to become very violent and we're going to have issues with all of that stress on everything, us, the tools, everything. So we really don't want that. So instead we're going to make thin slices and we're going to work a small area at a time. So just practice making this move and moving from right to left in the tool rest. Now, here is the absolute most important part of this whole thing. If you get nothing else from this video, this is the most important part that you need to know, is with your left hand, you're going to be pressing down on the tool rest. That is going to ensure that the bowl gouge stays on the tool rest and stays on that path that your body is creating with the shifting weight. And it's not going to be allowed to bounce at all on the tool rest, and it's not going to be allowed to accidentally slide forward and make a more aggressive cut into the bowl blank. Instead, we're going to keep it on that path from right to left by pressing down with our left hand into the tool rest. This is the most important thing you have to remember. And you can use all of the force that you have on that left hand. The more pressure you apply down, the less vibration is going to come up into your body, into your shoulder, into your arms. The smoother the cut's going to be as you make this rough and cut around the exterior of the bowl gouge. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Here you can see I have the bowl is in a rough condition, and I'm going to start taking off the high spots of this first. And I'm going to position my bowl gouge, and I'm going to go from right to left. I'm going to make a practice cut here. And then I'm going to make actual cuts. So I'm going to cut this for a little bit. I'm going to stop, move my tool rest forward as I go. And I'm just going to slowly progress into this. I don't need to be aggressive about this. I want to slowly work down to the point where I have a continuous cut that I'm making on the bottom of this bowl blank. Once I have a continuous cut, then I go right back to all my other regular bowl gouge techniques and procedures, and I don't have to worry about this interrupted, unbalanced cut that we're doing right now. But we have to get down there first, and the way we get there is we make lots of thin slices across the surface of the bottom of this, and we take down those high spots just a little bit at a time each time. We also have to keep in mind that When we first start off with an unbalanced bowl blank, we need to keep our lathe speed down. We do not want to have any vibration being created by the unbalanced bowl blank. Sometimes this means the blank is turning relatively slow. That's even more reason to make this smooth slicing cut, because it's really easy to accidentally push our tool into the bowl blank and start getting beaten up with the opposite side of this roughed bowl gouge. What we're really doing is we're not allowing the bowl blank to dictate the path of our cut. We are determined to make this cut on the curve that we're creating across this tool rest based on our body weight shifting from right to left, not on whether the high spots are beating up the tool and pushing the bowl gouge around. That's what we're not allowing to happen here. We are setting the design and the path of this cut based on how we're holding the tool down and shifting our weight from right to left. We're not going to allow the bowl blank to move the tool around. And by doing that, we're also not going to have vibration, and we're not going to get beaten up by the bowl blank. Now, as the blank becomes more balanced, when those high spots are reduced and it gets closer to the bottom shape of the bowl, then we can increase the speed of the lathe. Now, if you want to know about the lathe speed and the importance of lathe speed, check out this video. I've got a video here all about lathe speed. And no, I do not have an RPM readout on my lathe, so I can't tell you what the speed is. I'm going based on vibration and feel for this bowl blank. So check out that video. You'll learn all about how to determine the right lathe speed. Okay guys, I hope this has helped make your bowl roughing experience a little less rough, and especially a little less rough on your joints, especially your arms and shoulders. I want you guys to enjoy this experience of turning wood bowls because it's really enjoyable, and roughing can be a little bit of a challenge, but now you know the secret of how to rough out a bowl blank without getting beaten up. If you like this video, do me a huge favor and click that like button below the screen. I greatly appreciate that. Leave me a comment and let me know what you thought about this. Let me know if you were having issues with roughing out bowl blanks in the past, and if you've had a chance to try this and see if you've seen an improvement in the quality of your roughing experience. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, until next time, happy turning.